Okay, what I'm going to do is I want to show you, because I wasn't able to put this clip on the, if he can blow this up. This is what's happened. This is what the new age golfers are doing right here. I want you to watch what their back leg, their back foot is doing as they make contact. And basically, somebody, I steal everything, and one of the guys that has really benefited me a great deal in this presentation is a guy that works for the Cardinals now. I helped hire him. It's a guy named Paul Davis out of Omaha, and he's brilliant. And you never know. That's one of the things I like about the ranch and the different things. Talking is to, as you run something by somebody, they give you an idea here. You take different sports and you kind of see if they can apply to others. Basically, somebody the other day said, when you go up on your toe, as you start to make a rotational movement, there's more of a margin for error. And I think that applies as we go forward here. As we go forward with and I was talking to Jim Lefevre the other day, and he had Jose Canseco as one of his players when he was at Oakland, and we were talking about this, and he says Jose used to tell him to maintain connection in his hitting thing. He said, I hit with my heels. I don't hit when the ball's with my feet. I keep my heels to the ground as I go to rotate, and it maintains a connection. You'll see when we look at Rosenthal and Miller and some of these guys how this might apply. Does it apply to hitting? I don't know. I hit .073 in my career. I'm the 35th worst hitter ever played. I don't know, but I also hit like I play golf here. I don't hit the ball like that. That's for sure. So Spring, would you go back to our slide? I just wanted to run that. I couldn't put that into the thing. Okay. So we're going to get back. We talked about vertical. We talked about horizontal. There's room for both. Basically, as a reminder here, we're not, okay, good. Four-seam fastballs thrown with biomechanically efficient delivery produce greater pitch with greater rates of velocity and backspin, likely creating more swings and misses. I will tell you this, and DJ will probably confirm this as a coordinator, and the Indian people with their sabermetrics. If you don't strike people out in the minor leagues, you're not going to do it in the big leagues. You better get some swing and misses. And so if you're preparing one of your guys to hopefully play professional baseball, unless he's an ungodly ground ball machine, you better get some swing and misses, because the swing and misses do not go up as you get more disciplined hitters that have had more pitches, and their computer brain recognizes pitches sooner, and they're not chasing as much. So just keep that in mind as you're preparing. And I know winning is important at all levels. There's no question about it. I understand that. But I would hope that you would take if you have that special kid like Evan was talking about, that beanpole that he allowed him to get up to 96 or whatever he was doing, that it'll work. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is a hitting thing, because I don't want the Indians to see it or anybody else. But it basically talks about exit speed. 90-mile-an-hour balls coming off the bat at a certain bat angle, 8 to 12 degrees, creates 90% hits, line drives. Less than 90 miles an hour exit speed at 12 to 15, you get 75% hits. 90 bloops, etc. 90 miles an hour exit speed. Best launch angle for home runs is 23 to 35 degrees, 40% chance. So what we're doing as pitchers, we got to stay out of those angles. We have to stay out of those angles. And if I had a closer to pick this year, I'd pick Ginny Finch. She'd be my closer. Okay? She'd come out of that bullpen looking good, by the way, And I can say that because she's a Tucson gal and I'm from Tucson, Arizona. But can you imagine, you ever seen some of those big league hitters try and hit this stuff? They got no chance. And their brain just doesn't register that type. I had a pitcher with the Dodger organization named Sid Fernandez. He came up from A-ball to AAA. And he threw like that. He threw 85, 86 miles an hour, really sat, kind of pushed the ball up. I remember my first game ever pitched in AAA against Phoenix Giants. They did not foul the ball off for the first 2 innings. The number 7 hole hitter came up in the third, and he fouled the ball off down the right field line. The entire dugout stood up and gave him a cheer. Okay? Struck out the first 6 guys, and they were 85. And everybody says, God, this guy's throwing 100. And the gun was reading 85. He's averaging 2 strikeouts an inning coming into AAA. And you go online and check out his batting average against. It's one of the best in baseball. Okay? Here we have Utley hitting a ball at I think a 70-degree angle right there, and he hits a P-rod right at the second baseman. We have to understand that that's the path that these guys are used to taking, and what we have to do is stay out of those if we can as pitchers. So I guess what I'm monitoring for, learn to pitch up, gentlemen. Learn to pitch up. Just quit staying down. Unless you can get that down really good, soft, I guess the best would be hard up here, soft down here. Okay? Training. How do we train? If I had my way, I'd have my pitchers get a ballet teacher and have the ballet and do Pilates and do that kind of thing rather than some of the weight stuff that we do. A friend of mine took a ballet class and the teacher made him stand there like this with his belt level, bring his leg up and then extend his leg out without, and his ass started getting on fire, man. He couldn't do it. Because what do we as guys want to do? We want to jack this thing up here like this so that it makes it easier for us to make that movement. So there's benefit to that kind of thing. Abduction, eccentric loading, for powerful rotation and deceleration and rotation. Now you have to ask yourself, is this a lack of functional strength that leads to poor movement? You watch these guys. I went down to the Dominican and we're trying to get them to lead with their hip. First guy I see down there in the Houston organization, I see this young Latin guy, didn't put in the slide, and he starts his wind up, and here's what you get. That's the movement he makes. We've all seen that, right? And then you get another one understands how to, you watch Kershaw and Verlander and these guys, this belt stays level for the first few frames. And then it works its way up as they go. So as they're doing that, they're eccentrically loading on the end of the glute of the back leg as opposed to just kind of tilting, and that's a non-move, okay? We're not really loading into the ground, creating that pressure into the ground. Strength here is defined as a capacity or potential for effective action. Effective action combining acceleration, isometric contraction, and deceleration. Or is it a poor movement plan that leads one to make bad moves, which then exposes strength deficits? Either way, when you say you are centered, basically what we're trying to get you to do is stay centered, play low, and then power might come easier. Become glute dominated. When you go to your toe, you automatically become quad dominated. When you keep the weight on your heel, you become glute dominated on the back leg, okay? Get started correctly in the proper position. I know we talked about the start doesn't matter. There was some discussion about that when we were talking about the Furyk thing compared to the Nicklaus thing on the takeaway and this and that. I'm of the belief that while I agree with that you can do a lot of different, if you do something so crazy, then you're forever playing catch up to get back to the right position. Why do that? And that's why I like Kershaw so much. You watch Kershaw and I'll show you, this is what he does. That's all he does. He basically just makes that movement. Humerus lined up with the femur, humerus lined up with the femur, rotation of the hips, arms fall into place, boom. Cliff Lee does it in a little different way, Sabathia does it a different way. We end up getting guys that, twisting and arms going behind us and arms going out here, and eventually they get knee separation, they get external rotation of the lower half, internal rotation of the upper half. That's our separation. But why take a curvy path to get there when you can do a simpler way, if possible, and it can be taught. Get started correctly in the proper position. Bone rhythm. DJ talked about rhythm in his talk. It was a great talk. My wife and I took a class called Z Health, and they talk about bone rhythm. You watch one person do a push-up, an expert doing a push-up, and there's a timing to their movement pattern as they do the push-up. You watch somebody else, and it's not quite as smooth. And if you can get these rhythms of the bones and everything moving correctly, that's when you see what looks like Ernie Els swinging the golf club, as opposed to me. And most of the time, whose swing looks faster, the amateur or the pro? The amateur. The amateur's, I'm going to hit the crab, and you watch the easy Ernie, and it's just smooth, and that's what you're trying to create. Don't mistake that for the common thing. I don't like this pitcher because he's a max effort guy. That's an entirely different argument. Goose Gossage was max effort. Al Rabowski was max effort. Well, everybody would like to have the very. It's just the way they organize their body. The timing and the rhythm is just different. Overall timing improved, the arm stays in position, blah, blah, blah. Start well and end well. If you start well, and you have the intent and conviction, which as Nyman told us is the only two absolutes in this whole process, then you're going to be okay. Here we have Rosenthal. You notice the fastball, you basically, what this chart shows right here, which I saw fascinating, is you look at this chart, and then something stands out. You see this tongue right here. This is what he's throwing right there, is that pitch. He is throwing the ball at a little bit at 5 inches. The ball is sinking 5 inches, basically. And while it should be not as good, that pitch right there is basically hard for that hitter to pick up. If you watch how he sits and you see this ball taking off, it basically, it looks like it rises, but it's basically because of the way he powerfully sits into his load and goes to throw. And this is an example of unwinding from the ground up. We're going to do a cards comparison real quick, pictorial. This is going to go through this real quick. We profiled Mitchell Boggs, Shelby Miller, Joe Kelly, and Trevor Rosenthal, going from release all the way through. I think you can use this comparison. Obviously, Rosenthal for me is a poster boy for this, along with Kershaw and Verlander and a couple other people. Flint helped me put this thing together, so I appreciate that, Flint. Thank you, buddy. Basically, right here we have the start of the delivery as we go through to throw. Basically, you're looking, they lose connection as they start their delivery. Okay. If you notice how, I want you to look where the arrows are as we move forward. As we start to go forward, you see the different arm angle that all of these guys had. You look at Boggs, how quickly he took his right heel off the ground. That's going to impact the throwing elbow is going to start to climb. He's going to start to rotate prematurely as he goes. As we go forward here, you're going to see, I think I got these backwards, didn't I? Rosenthal right here is still much tighter in his delivery. Look where his glove is compared to Boggs' glove as he goes to throw. He's more tightly wound as he goes forward. Now they go into rotation. Look where Boggs' glove is. You can see Boggs' glove on the back side of his torso, and he hasn't even released the baseball yet. And part of the problem he had this past year is what pitch would be affected by this a great deal, would you think? What pitch would be primarily affected by this? Slider. Slider would be throwing a lot of cement mixers, middle arm side in. Rosenthal still very, very connected. Look at the ankle of all of these guys and see how Rosenthal is basically showing you his cleat. His heel has stayed on the rubber for a longer period of time. Now they go into rotation. Look where the gloves are, where everybody is. And Rosenthal's, you can't see any part of his glove. It's still right in front of his torso as he goes into rotation. Here's the money frame that I see right here. One of the beautiful things about Rosenthal right now, his humerus and his scap are lined up all the way down to his left scap. So you can draw a direct line at a diagonal between his right elbow, right through his scap, right through his name, right down to the left elbow where his glove arm is. He basically has pinched his left side glove into his side. He's rotating. A lot of people would say, when I always have fun at the clinic, say, is his elbow up? Is his elbow too high? Get your elbow up. Well, if I ask the question here, is his elbow too high? No. His elbow is in perfect position to Mother Earth. Maybe not, and it's lined up with his spine at a 90-degree angle to his spine, which is a strong angle to be in. You look at the other guys, they're not quite as ready to do this. And then they go into release. You see the movement pattern as they go forward. Here I took this in Springfield of Rosenthal. Look how long the ankle stays on the ground as he goes to throw. Obviously, in my opinion, what do you think is more important, ankle mobility or the ability to bench press 300 pounds? It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, ankle mobility. And this is something that you can work on. And some people can do it, some people won't. But I used to be a ball of foot guy. Remember that time? Remember the tall and fall? Remember all that stuff? And you start to realize, based on the way people move, that basically by doing that movement right there, we can eliminate a lot of issues. Simple thing like that as a pitching coach. Work from the ground up. We have a tendency to look at the extremities all the time. We look at all the flash and all the different things, and we try and work with that. Here he is in super slow motion in Quad Cities. Watch how his foot wants to work, the back foot, and how tightly connected he is as he goes to throw. This was taken a year and a half ago or whatever in Quad. And what I want you to, this is one thing, if you notice, you know, watch his foot as his heel wants to slide forward right there. See how his heel, that calcaneus bone, which is that bone right on your heel, it starts to slide forward. I first saw this with Trevor Bauer. I saw this with Trevor, and hey, my bad. I was doing it too. Ron and I, we got caught up in how the old timers were doing it. We had the toe in front of the heel, And we said, man, we got to have the toe in front of the heel. That really winds us up and does this. And then I started to realize, hell, those old timers didn't throw as hard as they do now. Ain't no way. That was all myth. Walter Johnson throwing 97, you got to be kidding me. That didn't happen. I mean, they threw good, but why are we absolved if every basketball player runs faster and jumps higher and does it, and football players are fast? Wouldn't the same be for baseball throwers? Bigger, stronger, faster? And so when you watch here, he throws the easiest 100 I've ever seen in my life. Shortstop. Saw him 1 inning. Junior college. Shortstop. No chance. That's that vertical movement. That is basically zero horizontal movement on a pitch. Freeze him. Here he elevates. I didn't get the whole thing in here, but see right there, that ball, it's almost like he's throwing uphill. And I'll show you a couple of the clips of somebody else here as we go forward. Yeah, if you watch Ron made a good point here. This shoulder, you watch Rosenthal throw, he replaces his left shoulder with his right shoulder. Complete rotation as he goes to throw, which is something that we advocate here at the ranch. Here we have humeral internal rotation and humeral internal IR. Here we have Avery. Everybody remember Avery? He was special. He was special. But notice how wide open, and then you look at Clemens. I took a picture of Clemens internally rotating his right humerus as he was going to throw the bat at Piazza during that World Series game when he broke it. And it's very strong. If you think about it for a second, internal rotation of the throwing arm, if you were going to hit somebody, you would automatically go into internal rotation with this hand. You watch hitters internally rotate as they go. This is a very strong position. And so basically what I'm asking us to do, and I'll talk about it soon, is basically externally rotate the hips, get them opened up, and internally rotate the upper torso, which creates a separation. And as you go to rotate, you'll see what we're talking about. It helps keep the hand inside the baseball, drives the ball in a straight line. And why didn't I know this sooner? I mean, that's because I'm the Buzz Aldrin. You guys don't know my history. I'm the Buzz Aldrin of Tommy John surgery. Anybody know who Buzz Aldrin is? No, I didn't think so. Okay. Huh? Second guy. But does he get any notoriety? No. None. I don't either. The other thing is, if Obamacare decides to become the law of the land, you'll all be getting Brent Strom surgery, and you will win 22 Major League games instead of 288. Okay? All right? I like to tell people when they ask me, how was your career? I said I was a 22-game winner, but it took me 4 years to get there. Okay? All right. What number do I wear in my jersey? 22. I wish I could wear 320, you know. I may be a pitching coach wearing 320 as you go to the mound. That'd be beautiful, man. Why? Because that's how many games I won in the big leagues, okay? I was proud of. You know what? I almost remember all the 22 wins, and I've forgotten all the 39 losses, okay? So anyway, here we have, we did a thing on Rosenthal and a young minor leaguer. And basically what we did here was to try and recruitment of the posterior chain being this back side of the body as we move forward. If you notice the difference as they lift right here, let's start bottom left down here. If you notice Rosenthal, how his belt is kind of level, and you notice how the other kid hikes up his front hip right away as he goes to throw, that's going to impact how he moves off the rubber. Notice how Rosenthal basically is holding on and the heel is leading as he goes in, and that means that his weight is where? His weight is on the heel of his back foot as he's starting to rotate. We're Hansel de los Santos, and look at the bottom right, and look at the same position. Look how high, and look at the angle that's created. Look how high a back foot de los Santos has compared to Rosenthal. So I know I'm beating a dead horse here. It's just something that we started to notice a little bit more. Here's flat ground. When we throw flat ground, what a point in time can tell us. Basically a minor leaguer, and Rosenthal is stepping over and land on his heel, front hips in his external rotation, has begun pelvis rotation. Note how the shoulder is in external rotation, hip and internal rotation. So you basically have Rosenthal's hips opening, his arms are in internal rotation as he creates this stretch through the middle part of his body. And basically, and I'm going to make a statement right here, and the only reason I'm going to make it is I think we were dealt a arm action is not king. And it pains me to say that, okay? Arm action is not king. I sold that bill of goods down the road, and and basically man, get this arm action going and the lower half will take care of itself. And so we had all this going on and everything, and I sold it, and I was wrong. And now that I learn, as I keep learning, basically, as you'll see from some of the drills I'll show you, the arm action reacts to what the middle of the body's doing. And if we can understand how rotation takes place, and that's why Dr. Elliott's so important, because the ability to rotate correctly, rotation is power. Michael Jordan had an inability to rotate because Michael Jordan grew up playing basketball. Rotation is not involved in that sport. It's an up and down, side to side sport. So rotation is power. Paul Nyman showed Ron and I up in Seattle one day. He took a left-handed pitcher. He put him into what he called his shot put position. I still use this. And he took this kid here like this and lined him up like this, and he said, okay, get in a posture, and I want you to rise up and throw the... And this kid went here like this, threw the baseball, and completely rotated, threw it 94 miles an hour. And then he went to pitch, he threw 86. Reached out with a stride, lower leg, starting to reach to get a certain stride. And let me tell you, stride length is not, there's no indicator stride length is going to help velocity. The longer you stride does not, it depends on how you get there. And a lot of that depends on your mobility through your hips, your pelvic area, a lot of these different things. And we talk about, well, Linscomb, man, he's 130 thing. He basically is, the way he carries his body, his head is still middle of the center. Other guys Verlander takes a very short stride and throws 100. So the minor leaguer is still trying to stay closed. This is one of the things I really believe this. The more you try and stay closed artificially, the more you open up. Man, you really open up early. Okay, well, I'm going to stand like this then. And that just gives me more option to open up. Basically, if we do this correctly, we should be okay. And I'm going to try and show you a couple ways to practice this. Hip and shoulder both in IR. Look at Rosenthal. He's already, look where his foot is. It's almost going into foot strike, opening up his hips, getting his belly button facing home plate. The other guy, indicative of differences in movement is what this is. I kind of like this, always like this. This is Djokovic. I showed this a couple years ago. This is Djokovic and Murray. Murray is the one on the right, serving a little bit faster. Djokovic is a better player. I mean, he's number one. Murray's beaten him before. But the reason I show this is because of the back leg. You can't see it here. I couldn't stop it. But Murray, basically, when he serves, his back foot is in a duck position. Djokovic is in a pigeon position. So the knee gets inside the foot, and that creates early rotation of this, and now the arm's left by itself. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And Roddick does the same thing that Murray does. And so I'll show you here. I think this helped Scotty Kazmir a little bit, but I'm not sure. That's Djokovic right here. He's had numerous arm problems, and I just threw that in there to make my point. That was about a half hour ago I put that in. Okay. Here we have, I found that this was in my documents. I found my documents, and this popped up. I said, hell, I'm going to throw it in here. This Scotty Kazmir, I believe, is a high school guy. And notice the proper way that you're supposed to move that back leg. The other kid is basically staying tall and reaching with the foot, if you look at the little line as it's moving, there's some movement of the lower part of the body, but Kazmir is not driving his knee inside as he goes, okay? It's basically staying there, so I just threw that in there. You're going to have to do this one yourself because I want to stop this one. So this was at the ranch. Let me see if I can find it. What I did is Scotty came out to work with Ron. Oh, I'm sorry. I got off the camera here. I got to show this one real quick. Basically, what we're doing here is, let's see where my thing is.
Should be on the play.
Huh?
Sure was over the play button.
Okay, see if you can find it. Just play it for me. Basically, there it is. And I want you to, what I want you to look for, I was just playing with this, looking at it, and right behind here, you're going to see a white dot or something like that, okay? And basically, what this is Scotty Kazmir has his toe in front of his heel, and on the other one, his heel, I asked him to turn his heel in a little bit, and so as he starts, stop it right there. Go frame, right, okay, just run it back, because it'll keep running it. Go forward for me. Stop right there. Okay, so what we looked for, basically, it just came to me one day, and I was looking at it, and there was in this thing, with his foot turned in like this, he rotated his torso more toward third base to try and create the power that was naturally given to him by having his heel. So you can run it one frame. Just stop it and go and start. Quick. Stop right there. Okay? Looks fairly similar right there, but what basically I'm seeing right here is more of a rotation of the upper torso trying to get the power. Here the knee is a little bit further in. Here the knee is pointed out. Keep going. Stop.
Right there, even though he's definitely more in his glute than the right-hand picture.
Yeah, that's Ron hit right on the head. He's in his glute on his right-hand picture, and when our toe is in front, we automatically want to go to our ball of our foot. Start and stop real quick for me. Right there. Okay, it looks very similar. Now, if you notice, I'm looking at this little dot right up here. It was kind of a little thing for me. Go ahead again and start and stop real quick. Start and stop real quick. Right there. Okay. He basically here he has lurched forward for me on this film, and he's more tightly wound on that one right there. Even though, to me, that is a better position to be in than where he is right here. Okay, and basically, I think, I don't know if he continued to do so or not. You know, it was just Ron and I were just playing with this stuff, and so as he goes forward. So when you're looking at things, kind of play with the lower half as we go. Okay. Okay, this one I made some notes. We took 2 pictures, and remember when Nyman was talking about frames and velocities and things like that? They still comes into play, so I need my notes for this one. But we took a picture at the top, and we took 17 frames, basically to show how angles can matter. The kid on the top, the kid on the bottom is a kid named Cooney. We drafted out of Wake Forest. I think he's going to be a big leaguer. You can kind of see right in the beginning. Look at the first frame on the left, and the first thing what comes to mind? Posture. Look at the angles that Cooney has established compared to with that blue line. Looking at the young man named Voss at the top. Okay, and as you move forward, you see these angles where Voss maintains a more of an upright angle as he goes to pitch, and what's Cooney doing is basically setting himself into a strong position by creating a posture with the weight stays on the heel, and this was taken exactly at the same time at ball and glove separation for both of them. Okay, so basically what we have is posture in action. The beginning frame, they break their hands. There's the flexing of the back knee, flexing his front hip so that Cooney's flexing his front hip so that he produces a 90-degree angle between the spine and the front femur. So basically he's established his front femur being right here between the spine. It's about a 90-degree angle as he sets this body into position. The spine femur angle plays an important role in doing this thing. And basically Voss is not engaging the middle of his body. He basically is engaging the distal parts. He's not really centered coming down. As you move through the first 5 frames, you notice how Cooney maintains that angle in frames 5 through 7 or whatever as he goes, and he clearly using his core better than the guy on top. Voss does the opposite. His spine angle is actually done what? From frame 1 to frame 5, what is his spine angle done? It's actually gotten bigger. He's actually started here, and as he's moving down, he's actually getting in a bigger position as opposed to a tighter position as he goes to throw. As we go, we got 13 frames to this point, so we've gone time and distance. We're talking, we say have 13 frames to go. The arms are acting independently of the torso on the top. The arms are acting in relation to the torso. What do you notice about the arms? Because this is going to be one of the key things I talk about here shortly. Whose arms, as he's rotating the torso, are coming into the body, and whose arms, as he rotates the torso, are going away from the body? Which one? The top one's going away, the bottom one's going in. What other sports is that important for rotation? Figure skater, gymnast, diver. So what we're basically talking about here is Cooney, and this is what Kershaw does so well, as I'll show that as he goes to rotate, and I'll show you a drill that'll help this for you. Okay, I got to hurry on here. That's what you get as you go to finish. Same time they started, time and distance, velocity. Okay? Here real quickly, the inverted W. Took Kershaw, compared him with Wainwright. Connection balls do help with the inverted W. There's no question about it, but it starts much earlier than that. What do you see in the back leg angle? Huh? Look at the knee. Look at the back leg angle, okay? What happens when the knee gets in front? The tendency of the body is to do what? To go forward. Your timing gets off. What do you feel like you have to do? I got to take the shortcut. I got to jack this thing up to get there. There you go. There you go. There you go. As Flint often talks about, where do you want the head? Over the inside of the back leg, not to the front. There you go. Has Wainwright been losing velocity? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Is he good? Yeah, he's good. Sure. He's good for other reasons. You know, I'm not belittling him. I mean, hell, I got $4,000 because he pitched pretty good, got us in the World Series. Okay? And the final angle here, I got to hustle through here, guys. Here we have modeling. We took 4 pictures. We got Rosenthal. Which one of those is the best? Which one of those guys would you model? Would you say is second best to Rosenthal? Huh? Bottom right. That's Manus. Strike thrower. No arm problems. No ice. No nothing. Upper right. Anybody know who the upper right is? Got 4 years. 40 something million. Flipped him. He's a lefty. Jaime Garcia. Ron does that all the time. He flips people on people so he can't do it. So I just took a cue out of that. Bottom right, Carlos Martinez. 100. Sinker at 97. Some concerns. We'll see. There's namely the 2 guys in that and all those pictures that you think would be closest to Rosenthal that haven't had problems. There's 2 guys there that throw 95 and have had no arm problems. Which 2 are they? Huh? We know Rosenthal's in the middle. This is kind of like that. What's that game with the squares? You know where? Huh? Okay, we got Rosenthal. I'm supposed to have a thing on here. Hey, there it is. Rosenthal. Fornataro, no problems. Strong as a horse. Baez, catcher, turn pitcher. Those are the ones. John Gast. What do you see difference between John Gast and this guy? Gast might have been one of your picks, right? The arm is even or outside of the elbow. These pictures were taken 1 frame into external rotation. That means as the arm comes up to through and it's at the top of the thing and is as a 1 frame, 1/30th of a second. That's when the pictures were taken. But you can see Mott down here at the bottom. Can you understand why problems? Seth Blair, way out in front. Okay. Just put this together. Paul Davis helped me with this a great deal. Basically what we're saying here is that there are geometric things with our body that we need to be aware of. There's an inherent mathematical beauty to us when we move, and how can it apply to baseball? So as we look at this, we look at I took Tyler Youngman with Waka. This is Waka right here, pitching as an amateur, pitching with the Cardinals. And you look at the angles of the back leg, look at the hip width that he creates as he goes forward. Then you look at Youngman. Completely different. Upper torso, I saw him pitch out in the Arizona Fall League, was throwing 88 miles an hour. Number 1 pick by the Brewers. Backside look. This is him doing a bullpen the day before he got called up to the big leagues. Spin rate of 2,500 on his fastball at 95 miles an hour. He's not throwing 95 here in this. But what I noticed about him, look how simple. He just basically takes his knees and separates his knees. Very simple delivery. Here's what it looks like from the front. Here we took Kershaw and basically put him in his position and basically carried him down the mound, symmetrical as he goes to throw. Notice how it, what people might say, wow, look how he's opening. Look how he's opening his front foot. Geez, he's going to open up too early. He basically is just taking his hips right now and opening them up to their max, and at the same time internally rotating his throwing arm, which is going to flip right up into position to throw. Here we have, I put this in for the newbies. We haven't talked about the glove side. We have, but basically by drawing this straight line, you notice how Kershaw just extends his arms, and as he extends his arms and his body where do his arms start to come? It's almost like he's taking the blue line and pulling it right back to his body, when in actuality he's coming toward that blue line. And then he goes into release. This is a fun one. Paul put this one together for me, rotating through a narrow door. This is the one thing that Marshall thought I said good when I debated him years ago. He's ripping my ass and everything. He says, I kind of like that idea of rotating through a narrow opening. I said, well, thanks, Mike. And then I went on the internet and saw he was ripping my ass even more the next week. But basically, you wouldn't. Most people rotate through what kind of door? A huge one, big one. So he's just squeezing himself through a door. There's his ball and glove separation right there. Can you do it different ways? Sure. Chapman. They all going to get there. It's just a matter if you have a guy that decides, I'm going to really try and stay close as long as I can, and then things just don't link up. And there's a beauty to it. When you watch Clemens go to throw, and I'll throw it, when Clemens' back knee starts to bend in to throw, his elbow bends. It's like they're timed up. Other people, this happens and this is still back here. So there's a rhythm that we talk about as we go to throw. Little guy, future, doing the same thing. He's a baby Kershaw, getting ready to throw. Look at how his arm and his legs are synchronized, and I can't slow it down. But with the knee break, when you slow it down, as soon as the knee starts to break, you see the elbow start to make a slight movement as it starts to work together. All right, I got to get to this. I'll show you a couple drills real quick before we go dry. A couple drills, dry throws. Basically, just taking your arms basically and standing here like this with your arms here like this, and I like to put my feet like in this position like a duck. Everybody know where the eye that doesn't sleep is located? Do you, Max? That's your asshole, okay? It never sleeps. So you tighten this thing up here like this, and basically what you're doing is basically just working on rotating your torso. Okay, you're basically eliminating the arms and trying to maximize the hips as they rotate over. A guy has a thing called the arm saver. I'll talk about that. It's online. If you type in arm saver, it's kind of a unique device. He basically takes the same idea, has a little thing around here. I'll show it to you in a second. A football. You can practice your thing with a football. You take a football, take the point of the football, put your feet like this. I'm going to throw toward the camera. Take the point of the football up in here and go into rotation as you go to throw. Basically, your hands staying inside your elbow, and you're basically throwing the ball in a straight line. Stick. Paul Davis showed me this, and I think it's one of the best drills I have ever seen. Basically, I went by Home Depot and whatever. I got some sticks. And basically, what we see with a lot of guys is that their arms become too active. Sometimes, the glove pullers, for example. This thing is going faster than this is, missing the arm side up. So if you just take a stronger stick to begin with, especially with the guys that don't know how to do this, because you snap sticks left and right because their arms become engaged. And so if I just stand here like this and I lightly hold onto this stick, and I just raise this stick up shoulder height, I could be Pettit, I could be Eckersley, I could be anybody. And basically now I'm just going to rotate my torso 1 inch. I'll do it without the stick. Watch my hands. Tell me what my hands do. You tell me what my hands do. I'm going to rotate 2 inches to my right as a left-handed pitcher. Where are my arms coming? What do most people do? When I rotate 2 inches to my right, watch what I do. This is what most of us do. And so basically, we get a little bit of horizontal movement with our front side. What's this going to do? All of a sudden, I'm flying away. This is what I did. I tried to create power. I looked at the old thing, and sure enough, I'm making a horizontal movement here. So if I just stand here like this and rotate 1 inch to my right, 2 inches to my right, and my arms start to fold in, and now I continue this rotation, what do you see of the angles of my two arms? They look exactly the same. Where's my hand gone? Where's my hand in relation to my elbow? Inside. I continue this rotation to throw. This pinch is right here. Pretty good position. How do I practice that? Well, most people want to do this. This becomes active. This becomes a power source. Those are the people whose arms react. What I'm trying to create, and what Paul showed me, is that I want these arms to react to the rotation of my torso. So you take a stick, just bring it up here like this, and as I rotate. Now what's the disadvantage that you're seeing with this big stick? I'm not able to go into what? I can't load. So what you do is you go get a skinnier stick. So now basically as I do this drill, I get up here like this and I go to rotate. I can take this. Now if you look at me from behind, as I go to throw, as I rotate to my right, as I'm rotating my right shoulder to throw, what's my left shoulder should do? It retracts. Where we get into trouble is when we do this. that's when we run into problems. So if you basically, why do you think you do all those scap exercises? So that it's not a matter of, hey, I'm going to scap load, I'm going to scap load. It's basically me going into rotation, and as I'm going into external rotation with the lower half, I'm going into internal rotation with my upper half, and now as I continue this rotation to throw, you're in pretty good position. I already pinched the eye that never sleeps, I already said that. Okay, so these are different things you can do with these sticks, and then you drop the stick, and so this would be a great wheel drill. Do a couple sticks, do it without the sticks. Throw a couple balls, come back to the sticks. You get the guy that really is hyperflexive, you get the 69 cent special right here. And this thing, because basically, so as I stand here, and so now basically as you go to throw, I'm in this position right here, you'll see a lot of guys, this elbow is going to be where? It's out here, you see this basically it's just a timing device so that you're basically connected as you go to throw. And basically, here's what you're trying to create. You're trying to create easy gas. And the problem you're going to run into is your guys want to feel like they're throwing hard. That's the biggest problem. And how do you feel like you're throwing hard? So what could you do? Well, instead of the lateral movement, what would you tell? Maybe a diagonal. See what I'm saying? This is what, so you know what Waka does? And people laugh when I tell him, he says, I feel like I want to throw with my armpit. So when he goes to throw, he's up in this position. He's basically throwing the ball with his armpit, driving the ball in a very strong position. And so then you get this late extension, which is what you're looking for, which I didn't do. I was this guy. I was that guy. Finger in the breaking ball, losing it arm side, not getting it over. Real quickly, because I'm almost done here. This is the Frank DeMichael's the guy's name. He's called the pitching pro. He's out of New Jersey. And he's got a cord here, so they basically, the only problem here, the arms are too low, too much tension, and he's trying to force that. That's poor rotation right there. He's basically trying to force that cord as he goes, and he basically needs to, for me, with what he does here, is he needs to learn to rotate without striding first. Learn to rotate. You basically is that drill I told you where we can rotate as we go. So basically, he finally got it. Is that better rotation right there? See? So he basically is eliminating the arms, understanding, trying to get the torso to understand how it's going to do its work, and the arms go for the ride. I always use these, but this is where you're at. Okay? That's me. There's Ron. There's Flint. And that should be all of you right there. We opened up, in this camp, in this session, we've opened up a whole new can of worms for you guys to kind of decipher and see where we're going. See if I have anything else here, and I think that is it. So basically, I had some slides that I wanted to show on the vertical stuff and everything. Just go on to PitchFX, go on to Fangraphs, try and see how you can work this eccentric loading, and if that might help some of your guys. Pitch up in the zone and stay connected, okay? Is there a place for the connection balls? Yes, there is. The connection balls are an excellent way. I'm just giving you a different way of looking at a guy that maybe has a high elbow. Maybe if you do something with his back foot, he's gonna basically make that move instead of making this move, which creates an undue thing. So kind of go all over the place. And one last word of advice. One last word of advice. If you tell a kid something and it doesn't work, that is trial and error. That's how we learn. Do not feel offended. If it doesn't, you just go on to something else and try something else. You're going to finally, hopefully, as you keep researching this stuff and you look at a guy and use as many valuable resources as you possibly can, including the people in this room, okay? Because people see things here that maybe I don't see or you see or whatever. That's how we all get better. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.